we have some rubrics that Ron Anderson brought up. Ron, can we skip to you really quickly and just, I have these on, let me share my screen really fast just so people know where to find it. Let's see. Sharing screen. Because you won't be able to remember all this stuff, but luckily you have a link to all these things. So if you go to the email that I sent you, you will see the agenda on there. If you click on the agenda, there is a link from the agenda to a place where we're sharing ideas, tips and ideas sharing from peers. If you click on that, it'll open up this document and you can get into what Ron has shared with everybody. Thanks, by the way, Ron, for sharing this. But this is it with rubrics. I'll give him the floor for a little bit. If you'll open this up, he's done an enormous amount of work with rubrics in multiple areas. So, Ron, are you able to go ahead and talk now?
Sure, yeah. Now, okay, that's a lot of words on there, so sorry about that. But the idea is actually kind of simple. And I'm sure a lot of you have used rubrics or have been in classes before that use rubrics. And the main thing I wanted to this is not technological, it's very old school. But the idea is that, first of all, in order to evaluate students, we want to be able to have identified the levels of mastery in any given skill. This one happens to be piano performance rubric that you see. It could be sight reading, it could be scales, could be ensemble playing, what have you. And what I've started doing more and more is just having students, even in the beginning of the semester, say, look, next week, we're gonna apply this rubric to a certain phrase, even, or maybe a certain segment of the music. And that's gonna be sort of the highlight of the lesson. And as they're practicing, they're looking at the rubric and figuring out where they are in each of these different categories. I always hope that with things like pitch or with technique, that they can go straight to the kind of higher levels. Because if you're tense all the time when you're practicing, that's not good. And then we can highlight that in the lesson in the following week. I thought for a hybrid situation, we're kind of going a week online and a week in person, that they need to take an ownership of their own process of learning and how they practice. And they have to just be self-aware about where they are in different skills. And so, and then I decided to even take it a step further, and over time that they start to develop their own rubrics for themselves. And that's something, they don't have to be as wordy as I was. I was probably too wordy about these things. And then they don't have to have as many levels. They can sometimes have 3 levels or 4 levels. But I like this big one just to show kind of the progression from beginning when you're just trying to find your way out of the paper bag until the point where you're ready to perform. And if you scroll it down, you'll see at the bottom of the page and is about memorization and performance readiness. And everybody begins not memorized, and everybody knows that they can't perform it yet. But by the time you get to the end of the process, it's not only that you can play the whole thing from memory, it's that the pressure of being under scrutiny your musicality remains intact. And so just knowing all these different levels as you go can help you to prompt ideas and figure out where your blind spots are and where your places where you're getting stuck.
So Ron, is everybody able to go ahead and just use your work that you've done? Are we able to just
Oh yeah,
add this? Okay, thank you for your permission and putting all that and sharing that with everybody. That's awesome.
And I think this one, it may not be, if I have something that might be a little bit more final than this.
Yeah, if you want to send it to me, I'll put it on this same doc so people can have that. Yeah, just make sure your link is made public.
Good. And these are all in progress. We can always change them.
Yeah, I will say, I have to give Ron kudos. I'm assuming he used Google Drive to create this PDF and share it with people. Did you know how to do that 10 years ago?
I knew how to do nothing 10 years ago.
This is a phenomenal change in our education. If you don't know how to use Google Drive like Ron did with this, learn it. Google Drive, it changes education completely, and the ability to collaborate with other people, your students included, sharing things. Those of you who have used Google Drive, can you raise your hand? So what's interesting is how many people have already done it. It's just come out of nowhere. Something super important.